for today's webinar on post-16 options. For those of you who aren't aware of UKSEDS, we are the UK's National Student Space Society. We are a group of students and young professionals running a variety of space-related events and competitions across the country. We also operate an early careers website called spacecareers.uk, whose team runs this webinar series, which is designed to educate on careers in the space sector. You can find all of the previous webinars through the Space Careers UK website or through the UKSEDS YouTube channel. Also, a recording of this panel will be available on the UKSEDS YouTube channel shortly after after it concludes, and we will be holding further webinars in the coming months, so keep an eye out for those. Please also remember you can submit questions to the Q&A box on this page, and we will select some to ask our panelists during this event. So if I could start off by asking you to introduce yourself. So I would say let's start with Aisha, and then we can move on to Rachel and then Mark. So Aisha, if you'd like to introduce yourself to everyone.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you very much for inviting us to the webinar and giving us an opportunity to talk to the students about the career prospects in space industry. I'm Aisha Iqbal, and I'm course manager and lecturer in engineering at the Bedford College. And I hold a master's degree in electrical engineering. And I have also a 9 years experience of teaching in the higher education sector, teaching undergraduate electrical engineering students. And after that, I joined Bedford College as course manager and lecturer. So I have 1 year experience of teaching in further education after that. And I also have, beside my experience in academics, I also have a research interest and a research background. I have published quite a few research papers in different journals and conferences. I have been serving as a reviewer of research papers for many different international conferences and journals. I have also authored a book chapter that is related to autonomous vehicles that is published by InTech Open London, and most of the publications are available online. So here also, like we are encouraging and motivating our students to pursue their career in research as well. So because it is obviously something really nice to do after their engineering or beside their engineering careers. Especially space is a great like never-ending field to explore, limitless. So that would also be a good thing. So that was all about me.
Thank you. And now Rachel.
Hi, thank you very much for inviting me to speak today with you. My name is Dr. Rachel Cross. I'm a lecturer in physics here at Aberystwyth University. So my background is an undergraduate degree in physics, and then I went into industry into nuclear engineering in defence and nuclear power generation. And then I came back to do my PhD, which is in materials physics. And then I'm now a lecturer and probably will never leave the university. I'm in academia now, but I've worked in quite a few different sectors, and it's quite nice to see how these skills map across those. So I'm kind of here today if you've got any questions on the entrance routes to further education from a university setting, and different career options from that side. So I've worked, even though I'm materials physics, not space physics, I worked on things like the ExoMars mission and things with UK Space Agency. So it just shows the diversity of the background that you can, career paths you can go into.
Fantastic. And now Mark, if you could introduce yourself. We lost Mark for a second. Mark, are we there? Is it frozen? Mark, can you hear us? Okay, well, until we get Mark back, we should move on to some of the questions. So if I start maybe with Aisha again. Mark, can you hear us? No? Okay, I'll email him this part. So Aisha, if you could just talk to us a bit about sort of the different routes into kind of the space industry, or kind of just different options from a post-16 standpoint, and also kind of post-18 as well. What sort of opportunities are available at Bedford College and other colleges?
Yeah, there are what we are running here in our Bedford College and in the engineering department are the Pearson BTech qualifications. So in advanced engineering, so that is a level 3 advanced engineering qualification, and then extended diploma in electrical or mechanical engineering at level 3. So level 3 is basically a 2-year program, and the first year, that is advanced engineering, is a mix of electrical and mechanical engineering courses, and in which the students study like it is a 90 credit hour diploma, and the students study subjects from both electrical mix, that is a mix of electrical and mechanical engineering. But in the second year, if they continue to go into the second year of level 3, then they can choose a specific stream. It's either electrical or mechanical. So after that, they get an extended diploma qualification in like electrical engineering or mechanical engineering. So combined 2 years of level 3, they are equivalent to 3 A levels actually. So if they complete 1 year of level 3 and they don't return after that, and they pursue for some other qualification or career, then 1 year qualification is equivalent to 1.5 A levels. So obviously, because if they complete this BTech qualification in electrical or mechanical, it will be very beneficial for them to go into the space industry as well, because if you have done level 3 qualifications in electrical or mechanical, they are very beneficial because they are very closely related to aerospace engineering as well. So they will be very beneficial for them, and especially because T levels are a new qualification which are going to start, especially for engineering. They are going to roll out in 2022-23. So that is like specifically a very good stream to join, because that is more industry based, and it is more beneficial for the students as because of the work placement, because of more practical and more industrial experience involved in that. So that would be really beneficial if they adopt into T levels, because that also provides a route into the space industry to them. So that is also a very good choice or option for them, which they can adopt, because all these fields, they are very closely related to space industry as well. And there are many people which you can like go and visit on LinkedIn as well. Their profiles are available, and you can go to the BTech websites, Pearson BTech websites, and you can see qualifications of many personals who have done BTech initially, and then they join the space industry, and they are really like doing really good in different industries, and that is really their profiles are really good and strong. So that is, I think, something really good which the students can do. And BTech qualifications are how they are more beneficial as compared to simple A level is that because the simple A level is just more academic, but if you adopt this route, so that will be more work experience based, because you can get work placement during your BTech as well, and you can obviously go into an industry of your choice, which you are more likely to adopt, or you are more interested in adopting. And also it is because it is more practical work based, so not purely academic, rather like 50% theory and 50% practical. So those students who are more interested in doing practical works and are not they don't like these days, because students are more interested in practical work, or they like to do things hands-on experience. So that would be really good for them instead of plain academics, which they study in simple A levels. So these are like very good routes for space industry, in my opinion.
Work who like to be hands-on, students who are a bit kind of want to move away from the traditional book learning situation. That is the sort of route that they want to take.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. That's great to hear. Okay, let's see if we have Mark back. If not, we'll go back to Rachel. Mark, are we here? Can you introduce yourself?
I'm here. Hi.
Fantastic.
I'm Mark Clawson. I'm Head of Engineering Technical Facilities at Lockheed Martin LMUK Ampthill. I look after about 20 different engineering facilities that do a range of different engineering activities, from prototype modelling additive manufacturing. We do all sorts of different electrical labs, electrical prototyping. I also look after the apprenticeship scheme for the engineering part of the business. So we've had 37 apprentices go through the scheme so far. So really proud of that, because I was involved with setting that up again after many years of not doing apprenticeships. And we managed to introduce degree apprenticeships, which is a really good achievement, because back in the day when I was an apprentice, we didn't do degree apprenticeships. It stopped at HNC and you could possibly add a HND on. So things have progressed quite a long way to add a greater range of education in apprenticeships. And just as a background with my engineering, which I think is relevant to this discussion, was back 20 years ago, I got to work on the Beagle 2 probe that went to Mars. So I was responsible for measuring the spin-up and ejection mechanism that fired it towards the planet. I was really proud of the fact that it ended up right bang in the middle of the target area. So hopefully I did my job well. But it's something that I'm really proud of. And I think that's a really great thing for students thinking about space in the future, is that something I've worked on is sat on another planet, and there's not many people get involved like that, and it's a really good thing to aspire to. So yeah, that's just a little bit about myself.
Fantastic. Thank you. So I'm going to go again back to Rachel, and then we'll come back to you, Mark. And sort of what would you say, again, Rachel, what are the advantages? Who should be doing who should be doing these different routes, and what are these different routes into maybe a university setting from a post-16 option?
Yes, I'd say, like, from a post-16 option for university, there is obviously, like Aisha said, there's your conventional route of you go to college or a sixth form and do A levels, and then you can come in as direct entry into a university degree scheme, such as the ones that we have here, where you'd come in typically with maybe like a level in mathematics and a level in physics are our kind of like go-to requirements that we have there. But then obviously, depending on the how higher education is provided around where you live, sometimes you might not have access in your sixth form to an A-level physics, but you really want to get involved in that physics, or you might have some other different options, or you might take a different route, or as Aisha said, you might prefer a more hands-on experience in your kind of first learning. So, but then if you decide you want to go down that more academic university route, we do actually offer other ways here in Aberystwyth, and other providers do as well, in degree schemes that are called integrated foundation degree schemes. So as conventional Bachelor of Science, so what you would call a BSc, that's normally 3 years long, but we offer 2 programs that are 4 years long as integrated bachelor's degrees with the foundation degree, one in physics and one in astrophysics. But that first core year, that foundation year, is the same across the schemes. And in that, we kind of cover the material that you would cover in A-level mathematics and physics, but then we teach you that in a more of a university setting. So getting into an actual laboratory, because that is quite a bit of a problem in many higher education providers at college level. There's just not the opportunity to get hands-on and play with things and make things and do experiments and learn and do that inquisitive kind of discovery. So foundation year means that you get to do the kind of A-level material that you need, but in that university setting. So, for example, I'm the coordinator for the foundation year laboratory. So I do a lot of the experiments with my students and based on what they would maybe should have covered in A-level. And we get a really wide range of people coming in on foundation year. And that's what's really rewarding about teaching it. It's a real mixture of people who either decide that maybe they didn't do well enough on their A-levels and want to have that kind of extra learning to put them in a more comfortable place when they go into the first year of their undergraduate degrees. We get a lot of mature students returning as well. And then we get a lot of students who have come in on the BTEC route as well. So they've done a bit, they've done some learning on that, but they haven't got the A-level qualification to come in on the first year, or maybe they're missing some of the components depending on what options they've taken. So they've got that option to take that foundation year route in. And then we get a lot of people like doing care leavers. So you can do foundation year as a distance learning option with the Open University is something that we do. So for people who maybe need that first year at home, But to build up those kind of qualifications, they do the foundation year and the first year distance learning. And then they come and join us here at the university in what's called the part 2, which is like your second and third year of university. And I have a PhD student, and she came through that route through the Open University, and she did so well. She stayed on to do a master's, and now she's here with us and our group doing a PhD. So I would definitely say that there shouldn't be any stigma around coming in for a foundation degree on a university degree. Your degree certificate at the end of the day says a Bachelor of Physics, or quite often a Master of Physics, because people stay on to do the integrated masters, the MPhys degree, because they've had that kind of extra bit of nurturing in an environment that they're comfortable in, which means that they're more comfortable in their first year and second years because they've had that kind of like extra experience at the higher education level. It's not as much of a shock as some students find coming straight into university from A level, depending on what your experience is. So it's a really nice kind of like, I'd say, a more gentle route into university, if that's something that you're interested in. And although we only offer it as 2 schemes, astrophysics and physics, the beauty of it is it's a common foundation year. And once you've passed through to that, there is the option for you to change on to other degrees. And something like building on kind of like what you both said with an engineering and a practical background, we've introduced a new degree scheme a few years ago that I'm the coordinator of, engineering physics. So it's kind of the physics behind engineering and some of those soft skills as well around it. So if you come in on the foundation degree, you can actually change into those kind of degree schemes and start to specialise. So there's definitely no limits on if you do want to come into a university education and you think, I haven't done A levels, I haven't done my maths, or I haven't done my physics, I've missed the boat. You certainly haven't, because there are all these other options that you can explore for you to enter higher education if that's what you fancy. And it really is exciting being on the edge of working with people doing research. And Beagle 2, I was a prodigy of Professor Dave Barnes, the late Professor Dave Barnes here, when he worked on Beagle 2, obviously here in Aberystwyth, and we were very excited when one of our lecturers found Beagle 2 that it actually did survive, and it was there from the Mars orbiter data. So it's nice to know that it landed, and it's very exciting to think that there's things that we're making here in the workshop that our undergraduates are doing projects related to that are actually going to Mars as flight hardware as part of the calibration targets and things for panoramic camera from ExoMars. So it's really exciting to think that something that's been made in Wales can go out over to Mars.
Yeah. So just pinning on that, because one of the things you said actually, Rachel, does play into a question that we've been asked, which is to kind of paraphrase, do you have to have good grades for these options? And so I believe with the kind of foundation year, maybe if you didn't do quite as well in your A levels or whatever it is that you did as you hoped, the foundation year sort of will let you sort of do that again, maybe in a different setting. Yeah. I know personally, again, when I went to uni, and wasn't amazing my A levels, but it wasn't awful either. I really enjoyed my first year because that sort of they started from stuff you knew and then kept going. So I guess this would be a slightly more even further back kind of really
it's taking it back a step. So it's bridging that back gap between maybe people who maybe have done GCSE kind of level education, but maybe with some of our mature students, 20 years ago, and they've come in for that refresher, and it brings them up to that point of completing an A level. So it is like the kind of like condensing those 2 years of an A level, but in the environment, and it's got a more focus into what you need for the undergraduate degree. Because I always think of an undergraduate degree as like a pyramid of interesting stuff. So you've got to do the basics to lay the foundations before you get to do the sexy sciences on the top. And then when you do your PhD, you stick a flag on the top of it and you're getting even more niche. So I always think of it as like building it up. So it depends where you're coming in on that kind of platform. But it is a really nice, gentle way of introducing into higher education, and it's open to everyone. Foundation, there is no minimum requirements as such for entry into the foundation year. It's on a case-by-case basis through an interview and a discussion with the admissions tutor. So providing someone shows that they've got the drive and passion to want to have a go at that at higher education level, at university level, they can come in and try it for that year. And obviously it's not for everybody. Some people come and they try the foundation year and they're like, no, actually I do want to maybe go into a more work-based route or something like that. So, but it's nice that we have that option that's for widening the academic pool to more people than just who come through that conventional route.
Yeah, so academically it's quite accessible. That's really great to hear. Okay, let's go to Mark and sort of have you sort of talk more about different types of apprenticeships, like you said, degree apprenticeships and other types, and sort of questions that might come in there.
So it's quite interesting. Obviously, the talk so far has been from an educational point of view. So obviously, this is more from an employer's perspective. So at Lockheed, we take on apprentices, and we've actually started to broaden the type of apprenticeship. So if you go back over a few years, probably people were pigeonholed into electrical and mechanical, and we still do find that with some of the qualifications. But actually, we're now starting to broaden the types of apprenticeships, so that from an on-the-job training perspective, we've got software engineer apprentices, we've got test, systems engineering, and systems engineering is one at an apprenticeship level. We quite often find that students aren't completely aware of that type of engineering. You know, just about everything that we do these days boils down to systems and integrated systems, and it's not really something that's so we've been trying to work with local education providers to actually talk about different careers actually in engineering once you've done your university or college, and about how you can move into those different careers. So we are trying to broaden the types of apprenticeship we have. And I'm not going to sit here and just say that apprenticeships are the ideal way forward, because I was an apprentice. You know what I've learned over the years, if you'd asked me that 20 years ago, I'd have just banged on about apprenticeships. But actually now, it's, you know, all these great different routes into engineering that have just been described. It's fantastic that opportunity is there to youngsters leaving school, because I don't think the flexibility used to be there, and I think there's loads of great flexibility now. And I would sell coming to the company as a graduate just as much as I would as an apprentice, because I just think the routes are different for different people, and I think people just have to find their way in their own career, and we've tried to focus that in our apprenticeships as well at Lockheed Martin. So, for example, we've had a young apprentice. She came in as an electrical apprentice, ended up after a year going into process engineering, and then after another year has ended up leaving her apprenticeship at 3 years to become a manufacturing engineer. So I think the variety is really great in what you can get in apprenticeships and the experience out there. And I think some of the education now that's available is really supportive. And I know things have changed a little bit with standards at the moment. And I have to admit, as employers, we're trying to get our heads around how that fits in with what our end goal is for how we do our apprenticeships. And that's been slightly difficult at the moment. So we're having to review about how we actually work with those standards to fit in with our work. But there's some great opportunities out there. And I'd have to say, going back to the things about what grades do you need, is actually, as an employer, the thing we picked up a few years ago was we very much got down this route of cream of the crop all the time. Let's pick everyone with A stars and first degrees. And actually what we've started to realize over time is the diversity. You're missing out some really good potential engineers if you go down that route. So actually we now don't do that. So we're the grades aren't there's basic entry criteria, but the grades aren't as important to us as the individual and what they might bring to the business. So I mean, one of my messages out there to people would be, if you're not that cream of the crop, strong academically, that's not a blocker to you having a really good career in engineering. I mean, I have to say that I went into apprenticeship because I didn't really want to go to university. I didn't think that was the route for me. I'd got education fatigue. I have to admit, I kind of stumbled my way through my ONC, HNC. But through experience and just the way I've applied myself to work, I've ended up in quite a senior position. It hasn't been a blocker to me. I managed 30 staff. I've got 20 facilities. I'm a governor at the local college as well. It hasn't been a blocker to me. And there's lots of other people around the company where you can look at the degree university against apprenticeship routes. And we've got people dotted all over that high positions that have done both routes, have been apprentices and ended up as very senior leaders in the business, or have done apprenticeships and then gone on to do university later. So yeah, there's some really good options out there for people. And and I think they're all valid routes into engineering.
That's really great to hear that at least some companies, if not probably more and more, are sort of starting to realize it's more about, you know, who you are and what you can bring rather than whatever you got on that specific day when you were in whatever educational setting you were. So that's really, a lot of people are going to definitely be very happy to hear that they still have a shot, even if their grades at whatever point didn't go exactly to plan. So no, that's really encouraging. Also, okay, so we have a general question, which is sort of, how do I know which option is right for me? Which is sort of, again, what you touched on. But I guess maybe if each of you sort of could try and distill, I mean, you're allowed to say everyone, that's okay. But you can maybe kind of try and distill who exactly you would advise the specific routes you're talking about to. So if we, again, start with Aisha, go around to Rachel, and then Mark, kind of discussing who would be good, who would suit which route.
As I told earlier that at Bedford College we are providing electrical and mechanical engineering qualifications from level 2 up to level 6. So level 2 is the basic engineering 1-year program. Then level 3 is, as I mentioned earlier, it's a 2-year qualification which you specialize, after which you specialize in either electrical or mechanical. And then level 4 and 5, which are HNC, HND, and then after one top up of 1 year, you get a BSc degree in either electrical or mechanical engineering. So, and we offer full-time and part-time courses as well. So, for example, if there are any mature learners who are 18 plus, they can join part-time qualifications or part-time programs as well if they are working, and if they cannot join full-time courses. So that also provides a convenience to them in terms of choosing their or continuing their education alongside their job, or if they are working. So since we are talking more about 16 plus students at the moment, so it's best to for them to join at level 2 or level 3 qualification, to start at that, and then they can continue after that. Many students after level 3 they join university, and they can continue with electrical or mechanical engineer, and they can go to aerospace engineering as well. So all these paths, like if even if they do electrical or mechanical, it will surely help them to join the space industry. So we have access programs as well, like access to HE, and some of the students which are doing level 3 with us, they continue to do level 4 and 5 with that. So since electrical or mechanical, they are very closely related to space industry as well. They are very, these are those qualifications which are helpful in that. So it is good for them if they have a mixture of interest for both of the industries, like they have an interest in electrical as well as they want to continue into space, or if they have interest in mechanical and then they want to join space industry as a career, so that will be good for them to join. And if they like more practical or hands-on experience, so because we teach 50% theory and 50% lab, so they can get like quite good hands-on experience. And as Mark said that we cannot rely simply on the grades, because sometimes I myself observed that when I was doing my, because I completed when I was doing my BSc electrical engineering, so some students which had really good CGPA, it was basically because they were really good in like theoretical work, but they were not as strong in practical work. So, but some students which had kind of very low overall CGPA, but they made the best award-winning final year engineering projects. So that's how their practical or critical or innovative thinking was. So if some students who like to work more in that way, they have more critical or innovative thinking, they can surely join this route to go into the space industry.
Okay, so yeah, anyone, it's also more accessible as well, like you said, with the part-time courses. So that allows people to support themselves while also being able to get their education.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, and yeah, okay, Rachel now, who again, we've probably touched on it a little bit, but if just being able to distill it.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously from a university provider, we're looking at there's going to be that gap between post-16 and when you can enter into the university level education, and it's kind of like your choice of what you maybe. If I'm talking to someone who is 16 years old and just finished your GCSEs and thinking what you're going to do next, I would recommend A levels, but the BTEC is just as good as an entry route into the university sector. I would say university is not an ivory tower that maybe it once was, where it's lots of people with several hundred people packed into a lecture theatre with one person at the front just speaking, and that's your whole university experience. Just in the same way that some of the earlier qualifications can cater to anybody, you'll find quite a breadth of different flavours in a university degree. So just where you've got the different flavours in engineering, even going down into physics where I am, we have the different flavours. So somebody coming in maybe on the foundation year or direct into first year might come in on a straight physics degree, which is kind of what I did, just a straight physics, so lots of condensed matter, materials physics type course. But then you might come in on an astrophysics degree thinking, I love space. And then you might think, actually, I really love a niche area of space. I really love solar physics. I love planetary and space physics. So as you're progressing up that pyramid of subjects and you're narrowing down, you can then branch off into your specific degree. So there's a lot of flexibility, particularly here at Aberystwyth. We've got a lot of flexibility between our degree schemes. So the first years tend to be common, bringing you up to a knowledge base, because we find that it's a lot to ask somebody at 16 or 18 or a lot older than that, what you want to do with your life and what exact area you want to be in for research, because I don't think you can know until you've experienced all the choices. How do you know what flavour of ice cream you like before you've tasted them, for example? So I think that's the nice thing about the first year of a university degree and the foundation degree, is you start to get those little flavours, and maybe think about what you're doing as your entry route. If you're thinking of a career in academia or going down the academic route, think about what post-16 qualifications might give you some of those flavours. So if you are a very practical, hands-on person, that doesn't mean that you're excluded from an academic degree, because I'm a much more practical, hands-on type of person, hence material physics, spanner wielding in the lab, than I am a theoretical writing things on the whiteboard, calculating. But I've got friends who are much more, and colleagues who are much more theoretical, so they don't work in the lab as much, and they've gone down a theoretical physics route. And there are those branches, if you come in at that point, to spread out. So don't preclude saying I'm a hands-on person, I'm not academic, because there is an academic route that would suit you as well. So it's not a blocker for you. And that's what I'd say, that explore all the options you can, and it's never too late to change tack if you want, and move directions.
Yeah. And like you said, you left and you came back. So again, I'm sure there's lots of opportunity for that as well. If you've done something else to maybe get into academia slightly later,
yes, exactly.
what you do.
That's it. I've worked in industry for a few years, done different interesting jobs, but I miss doing fundamental research, and I wanted to come back and do fundamental research again. So I had a very early midlife crisis, and I gave up a very well-paid job to come and be a PhD student. And it's worked out all right in the end, but obviously at the time it was a bit worrying. But these decisions, things aren't set in stone career-wise like they maybe were 10, 20 years ago. There's a lot more mobility now between the different routes that you can offer, and a lot more diverse routes into things like the space agency and space exploration that people think are very elite. But there are so many different roles that you can take in the space agency that need all these different complementary routes, that there's definitely something for you if you've got a passion for it.
Fantastic. Okay, so and then Mark, again, who maybe would you recommend apprenticeships to? And also a kind of question we've got as well is about sort of age regarding apprenticeships. I think everyone always thinks they're quite young, but is there an age limit regarding apprenticeships?
Okay, what I'll do, so I've got a slightly different take for you on who should do apprenticeships or degrees, but I'll answer the age thing first. So for us, age is not a limit to apprenticeship. So the oldest apprentice we took on was 27. So that they started their apprenticeship at 27 and finished at 31. So it's not, and we've had ranging ages between 16 and 27. So obviously there's a difficulty in that what we do as a business is we tend to obviously pay for somebody coming into an apprenticeship at a certain level, because we have a framework of salaries. So if somebody is on a £50,000 a year job and decides they want to change careers and do an apprenticeship, we would still offer them their entry salary for an apprentice. And we've actually had people apply like that, and we've had to go, do you really want to do that? Because what we don't want is you after a year going, I'm not earning enough as an apprentice, and leaving. So, but we don't preclude people on age. So, and actually the thing we were really proud of is our 27-year-old apprentice. Basically, she had children and decided she wanted to get into software engineering. And therefore she went to Bedford College actually, and did her level 3 in software, and then applied for an apprenticeship to us. And that was a really good thing to see, because that was helping somebody get into the industry that's gone away and done one of the most valuable jobs on the planet, which is actually being a parent, and then becoming an apprentice. So no, there's no real limit on apprenticeships. We might ask the question at times why people are doing it, and if it's the right thing for them, because sometimes they haven't thought it through fully. So the other take I was going to put on apprenticeships or degree is that when we all get to this point in our career, who we are is made up by the experiences that we've had. And I think there's another aspect about apprenticeships and degrees, or going to university, and that is the personal experience in the background. And like I said, going to university wasn't something that attracted me. I wanted to go out and earn money, buy a car, go down the pub and see my mates, stuff like that. And I picked a particular route because it fulfilled a want to become an engineer, and also a social aspect that worked for me at the time. And university, I've got friends who have been to university and they go away and have a great experience. They get to leave home, they stay in the halls, meet new people, go to new places, and that's a fantastic experience as well. And I think in the background, considering all of the great academic different routes that you've got into engineering, you also need to consider your personal growth as a person and about what things might suit you. So if you're a bit of a homebod and want to stay at home and you don't want to leave your mates and your family and stuff like that, maybe going to university is not the best thing for you, because you might end up homesick and therefore just drop out of it. So and vice versa, if you've got wings and you want to fly, maybe staying at home is not going to be the thing. So I think you need to consider just more than what your academic options are. And as Rachel said, there are so many things out there where you can do something and then change. So I know lots of people at Lockheed Martin who did an apprenticeship and then went on to university to do a degree later, and topped up in that way. So there are so many different routes, and I think, we talk about diversity all the time, and diversity is the differences that we have at work and what we bring to the table. And I think it's all those different experiences. And I think people need to think about all of the things they add into their career, not just the education on top. So hopefully that's because Aisha and Rachel gave excellent answers on the academic side to the different routes. Hopefully that just adds a different element to it.
Yeah, so in reality, it's what do you want from this part of your life, and
That's right, yeah.
take the route that best suits whatever it is that you want to do, because you can get there either way.
Yeah,
like you said, there's no limiting factor.
It's interesting, Jess. I do a bit of a careers piece. I've done it at the college, and I do it for our early careers. And everybody maps out their career thinking it's some linear line from point A to point B, and it's not. It's the windiest road you could ever imagine. And I think you could probably take 100 engineers or managers that are in similar positions, and their routes would all be completely different to possibly end up at a similar place. So yeah, it's great to have career plans and have goals, and we should do those goals and stretch ourselves, and that's how we get on and reach things. But yeah, it's such a winding road, your career, and different things in your life mean that you want to do different things at different points. And I think that's really important for people to consider when they're choosing the options, and also almost to live with the no regrets of it. So you know what, if you choose an apprenticeship or go to university, that's an experience in your life, and if it turns out not to be the right one and you change direction and go a different route, if it ends up getting you to where you want to be, your destination correctly, then it's all good.
I definitely agree, and one thing I'd add in with your thing about people being homebodies, and as a personal tutor, I've experienced of undergraduates missing home, missing their friends, and it affecting their work. And I often say on because I do the marketing and recruitment for physics, I often say on the open days, if you've come from a city and you love being in a city, don't come to Aberystwyth. Because it's not a city. But you know, we have our you know, all our beautiful things around us, but it's not a city. And if you're going to miss that, and wherever you go, you should go and visit it. So if you are thinking of going to college somewhere different, to an apprenticeship somewhere different, the apprenticeship, the university degree applies to everything. That might be perfect for you, but if you hate the place, you can never do your best, and you can never be your best self and get the most out of it. So you've got to have that balance of what makes you happy and whatever is fulfilling you on the job or the academic front as well. You've got to have that balance. You could be in the most prestigious university in the world, doing the best course with best teachers, but if you hate living there, you're not going to be happy, and you're not going to achieve your best possible outcome for yourself. So just think about that. And there's no shame in saying people don't have to go to university. People don't have to follow these linear career paths. Mix it up.
Actually, it's interesting, Rachel, because you said about, you know, I think I'm the same. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
And it's interesting. So we see obviously a lot of young people, and you know, they start apprenticeships, and that's why we've tried to be flexible. And that's what I was saying about the electrical apprentice that did process and then manufacturing, is that because, you know, quite often when you start out in your career, you don't know really what you want to do or what works for you, and things that seem exciting sometimes aren't exciting, and you want to do, or you see something else more exciting at work that you want to do. So yeah, there's almost no wrong decisions. Whatever we do it's part of us.
It makes sense at the time, and like you mentioned, this mature student that I have as a PhD student, you know, she came in through the 2+2 scheme with the Open University because she had children to balance that part. So she did half a degree as like out of hours at home learning, and then came to complete a degree, and now has worked around it. So it wasn't right for her years ago to come to university to do a degree. There was nothing wrong with her aptitude, clearly. She's an excellent student, but it was right for her later on. So what's, you know, right at different times is different for different people. And we've definitely seen that in higher education now, in a diverse range of ages and backgrounds now. It's much more diverse rather than a class full of 18-year-olds all fresh from A-levels, with much more diverse background now. And so don't feel like you have to follow a certain path.
I mean, it's quite interesting. I suppose actually, so what we're all saying now almost makes it sound more difficult for a 16-year-old to choose, because there's so many options available, and there's so many things in your life and life choices to make. But I mean, the recommendation I'd just give to people is to talk it through with friends and family about why you're going on the journey you're currently going on and the things that you're considering. And sometimes that just gets it straight in your own head. Even you don't have to ultimately listen to their advice. Sometimes just talking it through with someone allows you to decide. And you know what, you can only go with what seems like the gut feel at the time, and quite often that gut feel is quite important to you because it's the thing that really does drive us. So I'd say talk it through with friends and family about why. So ask the question, why do you want to do a certain route, and what do you think you're going to get out of it?
That's such a great thing to hear about, the like holistic part of it's not just focusing on the route. You have to make sure you're happy, otherwise you're not going to be able to perform at your best, and everything else as well. Okay, so fantastic here. Let's see, I've got a couple of other things, I think. Okay, a couple of more apprenticeship sort of focused ones, but actually, if anything, for all of them, how accessible would you say the routes are to people from, you know, low income backgrounds? Because I know, historically with universities there's been quite a barrier, but how is it looking now? I don't know about regarding apprenticeships or colleges, kind of any barriers that maybe more recently have sort of been solved, or at least what help there is available for people from lower income backgrounds. Again, if we start with Aisha, and we kind of do quick little snippets of going round.
Yeah, at Bedford College, we provide, if there are any financial supports required by any student, we have bursary, learners bursary program here at Bedford College, so they can apply for that and they can avail that. So many students who find it difficult to support their education, to travel to the college, it's difficult or unaffordable for them, they apply for learner bursary and they are availing that. So that is from financial point of view as well, that is really beneficial for them.
Okay, fantastic. So there are bursaries available probably at other colleges as well, not just Bedford College
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
So there are these
Yeah,
bursaries that are available to students.
yeah.
Rachel, do you know about any, maybe probably Aberystwyth specific?
Well, Aberystwyth specifically, we're very lucky that a lot of us, once you've been to Aberystwyth, you do tend to have a bit of an attachment to the place. As 20 years ago, I came down the hill looking around for university, and here I am again. But a lot of people do, and we have a lot of bursaries available, subject to specific bursaries. But then there's a lot of bursaries that are like means tested applications. We do some based on scholarship entrance exams. And then there's also some that are particularly for people from low income backgrounds that can apply for bursaries. And they're actually quite financially great bursaries to last you through the year. And for your whole degree. And there's other things that you can apply for, such as hardship funds and things from the university. So we have all those kind of like safety nets. So if students, you know, they're all right maybe in the first semester and they get in a bit of difficulty because it's the first time away from home and maybe it's a bit difficult managing your finances, these things happen. We've got like those kind of safety nets to offer things that we can help them as well. And it's the loans are a lot more accessible, especially now you can have like a postgraduate loan as well. So we're seeing a much more diverse intake across from undergraduate to postgraduate now. But have a look at the places that you're interested in and see what things are available, because they do vary from provider to provider. And again, it's to take into one of those consideration in that holistic mix kind of thing again of what's right for you. Just because someone's offering you a lot of money to go to a place or to take a position doesn't mean it's necessarily a good investment for you.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess those things are out there at many universities. Just read the fine print, do a bit of research, and see what you find. Oh, that's fantastic. And Mark, I guess with apprenticeships, you've got the fact that there is a bit of money involved, but sort of how does that vary depending when and through the years?
So for us, in a way, that's almost as an employer, almost a bit of a non-question for us, because I mean, ultimately, when you apply, your CV does not have about whether you're from a low income background on it or whether you're from an area with high deprivation or anything like that. So basically, if you've got the grades and you interview well, that's what gets you the job. So at the end of the day, for us, there's technically no blocker from a low income background to you getting a job with us. It's about you as a person and the grades that you've got on your previous education qualifying you. And our only qualification really for the entry level is the entry levels that the college would need for the next level of education. So that's our minimum entry requirement. But we've got no reason that anybody from a low income background shouldn't end up getting a job with us and being successful. And I would expect that would be the case with 99% of it. Well, I would hope 100% of employers, but there might be a few rogue ones out there.
Oh, that's so fantastic to hear. So there are options and there are things you can get kind of extra financial support, or I guess with apprenticeships that problem is solved by the fact that you get paid, and then latterly we've seen as well that doesn't affect, again, actually slightly more specific questions to the apprenticeships. Would you say that there's no real impact, like difference in salary compared to people who did apprenticeships or people who went down sort of the more degree traditional route? Kind of later on, or what would you say the kind of landscape's like on that?
So that's an interesting argument, and one you could probably have all day about salaries between graduates and apprentices. And there are certain things that you have to take into account over the whole life. So for example, an apprentice obviously does not pay for their education and are paid throughout their learning experience. So already by the end of, so you could argue, let's say if someone did 4 years at university, you could argue one of our apprentices has already earned probably about £80,000 more in that 4 years than somebody going to university has done. Plus the fact that they don't walk away with a university a debt basically for their education. So, and then obviously what you might find is that graduates quite often, and there's interesting discussions about experience and education that we have all the time, and you'll quite often find we've actually got to the stage in our business where our degree apprentices exit the scheme, I would say, very close to the salaries that our graduates exit on. Which, when you consider, if that's, say, only £1,000 difference, but they've earned £80,000 more over the last 4 years and had all their education paid for them, they've kind of got a pretty good deal at that point. And if you have got to the point where you've got a degree and your apprenticeship behind you, at that point going forward in your career, the only limit about your earnings is about how you drive your own career. And I think at the end of the day, people need to realise that their career is their career to live. It's like, for me as a manager, it's not, you know, I've had my career. So at the end of the day, while I help people to develop in their career, it's not my career and I can't live it for them. So different people will develop at different rates and possibly earn. So you could end up with an apprentice who got I mean, I'm sure now I only achieved a HNC, and I'm sure that I earn more than some people that got degrees at university do at the same point in my life. So in fact, I know that for a fact. So it doesn't stop you from earning more money if you do an apprenticeship, but that's because I've been driven through my career to be successful in what I do, and therefore I've received reward from the business for that. And that is an interesting point in people's careers, is that, you know, sorry, I don't want to go into a full career chat here, but they should be focused on delivering what they're in at the moment successfully, and then basically reward and recognition comes with it. And being successful and getting into that habit of being successful is what drives people on in their career to then earn more money, get promotions. And I think once you've done your education, I think that bit is down to you as an individual. And
Right.
I don't think the particular education particularly holds you back anymore.
Okay, so you wouldn't say that there is a mass kind of salary difference, and that is, you know, as would expect that. However, you know, the pay goes, that is because you're being paid, hopefully, what you're worth regarding, and it doesn't matter what you did prior to that. It is.
That's right. I think there were some gaps if you went back 30 years ago, there would have been, but there again, I think apprenticeships and university education was a lot different then. And very much apprenticeships did target very different roles, whereas I think there's a lot of clouded roles now that are either apprenticeships or people going to university, and the kind of, it's just a different route now. And therefore, and I think businesses have started to accept the fact that, you know, it's your value as an individual. And you know what, if you've got a degree in 6 years worth of experience through an apprenticeship, what difference is that to a degree at university and 6 years worth of experience? So
Okay.
I honestly believe now that I think that gap between apprenticeships is pretty much closing, and then the rest of it is down to you as an individual.
That's really
forward.
great. That's very encouraging, I think, to some people who might have been possibly put off apprenticeships just because of the historic reputation, I guess. And that's going to be really good for them to hear that it shouldn't matter later on. Okay, so I guess we've got about sort of 5-6 minutes left. So does anyone have any kind of takeaway things that they want to say? Really kind of seeing the praises, maybe what sort of skills do you think maybe students develop on the less traditional routes, again, if we go round and sort of say maybe, but yeah, between college and kind of foundation and again, apprenticeships, what sort of skills that maybe a student who went to, you know, either stayed at a school and did a sixth form or went to maybe a sixth form college, or then a college that did slightly more. What sort of advantages and skills would they have developed that, yeah, other students might not have?
Would you like to start with me, Jess?
Sorry, I did forget to say it. Yes.
No problem. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that it's like in electrical or mechanical engineering, if you choose this route. So the BTech qualifications in electrical or mechanical, obviously they are, both of these engineerings, electrical or mechanical, they are very closely related to space industry, and they are also based on very strongly based on maths and physics, because that is the basic of both of these subjects or both of these streams. So when you study this qualification or this course, you get a knowledge of that. You get a strong knowledge of mathematics. You get a strong knowledge of physics as well. You develop concepts of physics, which will be really beneficial for you to progress in the aerospace industry or in, aeronautical engineering or uh, any similar field. So that is, and then on top of that, when you do practical work or when we assign them different tasks, uh, practical tasks or design tasks, then obviously it develops critical thinking or analytical thinking in them. Then along with 4 days a week at college, the fifth day they do work placement. So since we provide them work placement as well, so they obviously get a work experience alongside their studies over here as well. So that is also another benefit of that. So that are quite a few skills that they achieve during their studies.
So
So
yeah,
yeah.
young students get to develop that sort of work environment and get introduced to that in their chosen industry.
Yes,
Okay.
and we try to focus a lot on maths, English, and ICT that are basic skills. So obviously, when they use the technology, so they get familiarized with ICT as well. So
Okay.
that are some of the skills which they develop.
Fantastic. Rachel, yeah, I guess if you just want to vaguely sum, and then Mark, and then we'll be done. Or yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I definitely agree with all the things that Aisha has said are the same things that really apply to doing an undergraduate degree, whether you're coming on foundation year or direct into first year. It's not just the I am a physicist, I am a mathematician, I am an engineer skills. It's all those surrounding skills that make you a good employee for the future that you develop. So the critical thinking and the team working. Go to any careers fair and say you're interested in doing a STEM subject, and the businesses tend to be more interested in you because you've got that range of skills. I would say advice wise, if you're interested in going into engineering, physics, space agency, mathematics is the language of engineering, and it's the same around the world wherever you go. So become fluent in mathematics, and mathematics can around the world can take you anywhere. And as we have from Star Trek, you can't change the laws of physics. I'm not going to do the accent. So understanding the laws of physics will help you in going to all the different things in the space agency. So just kind of take those principles with you and have an inquiring mind is probably the most important, wanting to learn.
Fantastic. And then Mark, yeah, what would you say in the apprenticeship thing is some skills, maybe less of the kind of academic skills that your apprentices develop, that maybe more traditional students might learn either a bit later, or what gives them that edge?
I think definitely just learning, as Rachel said, those professional aspects around, so stakeholder management, understanding the people that you are producing work for, and what, you know, it's very, I found when I was younger, it was very easy to have, this is the way I think, everybody else needs to think the same way as me. And it's quite often we are delivering things for other people within a business, and just understanding what other people require from you, and that stakeholder management, so that you are delivering what other people expect. I mean, let's face it, if you're looking for a boss to promote you or give you a pay rise, actually, you know, not being able to deliver to them what they're looking for is probably not the best route to get there. So yeah, just understand what people need around you, and you know, listen to what people are saying, learn off them, and just look at that. Being a rounded professional as well as being a technically strong engineer would be a good bit of advice, I think, really.
Thank you. Well, I think that pretty much does us all for today. So I've got a little end bit that I've got to do, but thank you all very much for your time. So yeah, that's our last question. Thank you for everyone who submitted a question. Thank you to all of our wonderful panelists for sharing your experiences and your expertise about our post-16 options. And thank you for everyone who watched live, and I hope everyone finds this useful, and those of you who might be watching in the future. We really value your feedback, so if you do have anything to say, please do take some time to fill out the feedback form besides the webinar, and find out about all of our future episodes in the series and other events we run. Follow UKSEDS and spacecareers.uk on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram, and sign up for the UKSEDS newsletter via ukseds.org. So thank you all for watching, and please join us again next time for our future webinar, which is on a topic that we have not yet decided. So maybe if you have any suggestions, you can leave them in the feedback box. So yeah, thank you very much. Bye.